Hi everybody, welcome to this afternoon's or pre-departure webinar. So we're going to give it a fair few minutes to make sure everybody can get into the room. Myself and the colleagues will be here and presenting all the way through, and then doing a big question and answer session afterwards where everybody can ask us anything you wish. What we usually do at the beginning is please say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. It's always nice to see if we can recognize some names from email addresses, or if we've been there, ask what it's like. That's usually the game that I play when asking people where they're coming from. So please tell us where you are in the world. I reckon we're going to have quite a few Americans today and a Japanese student. Excellent. So we've got Atlanta, someone from Japan. Not been to any of these places yet, I'm afraid. It's absolutely beautiful here in Aberystwyth. So as soon as these webinars finish, I think most of us will be going to the beach in some way. We've got absolutely beautiful weather. So all those pictures on our website, it actually looks like that right now. More Americans, Indiana, Boise, Idaho. Is that how you say it? Probably not.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is correct. Thank you, Jeffrey, my resident American here.
No problem.
Feel free to turn your cameras on for this bit so we can I'll introduce you guys as well. Sanjay from India, hello. We've got Canadian, Norway, San Francisco, USA, Colombia. A lot of Americans today. Jeffrey, you are well presented here. There's a lot of you guys.
Wow.
I can see one Norwegian, Helene.
Yeah, I saw.
So as you can probably guess, we've got two of our current students here, representing our student population, international student population, I should say, who'll be part of the presentation today. So you'll get a really good insight into what the real student thinks and has to say about what to pack in the preparation stage. Hello from Texas. Nearly did the accent, I won't. Excellent, we've got a fair few people coming in. I'll give it another minute and then we can start with the webinar. During the presentation, we'll have the chat closed, but like I said, after we'll do a big question and answer session. So please feel free to make a note of a question that you think of whilst we're talking and then post it afterwards. We'll then go through all of the questions one by one to make sure that we get to everybody. But please feel free, as always, email us whenever you have any question, and we'll be happy to get back to you. South Africa, excellent. Nearly every corner of the world covered. Well, so we've got a fair few people in the room now, so we might as well start with the webinar. So thanks for joining, everybody. So today in the July webinar, we're going to be talking about everything that you need to prepare to arrive in September. Usually this is a very exciting period of time, but yes, there's a lot to do and a lot to plan. This time, there's even more to do and even more to plan because of that whole kind of global pandemic going on right now. But we're here to help. So we're going to go through everything that you need to know before we get going. So who we've got today? So myself, I'm Samantha Vallin. I'm the regional manager at Aberystwyth University. We've got Jack Coates and Maritza Hungary, who are regional officers within the team. And we've got Jeffrey Clark and Helene Husbo, who are joining us from they're both in Aberystwyth at the moment, but Jeffrey, you're from America, and Helene, you're from Norway as well. If anybody has any questions, please email us on international@aber.ac.uk and we'll be able to get it to the correct person. Otherwise, wait for the Q&A at the end of the session and we'll be happy to help as well. So today, what we're going to be going through is a quick recap on what was discussed on the last webinar in June. So Jack has got a quick recap of all the documents and everything that you need to complete your application. If you missed last month's webinar and want to go back and re-watch it, it is available online and you can catch that now. We're then going to talk about the arrival to the UK, airport pickup and welcome week. So Maritza's going to run through all of the setup that we've got at the moment and so you know what to expect. Then our wonderful students are going to go through what to pack, what not to pack, what to expect in your first couple of weeks of university, given from the student point of view. And I have the very exciting and fun conversation of September, what's happening in September and the COVID update. As you can imagine, things are changing quite rapidly, but we're going to run through what the state of play is at the moment. So I'll pass over to Jack, who will go through the next steps.
Thank you very much, Sam. Hello, everybody. Really good to have so many of you joining today, and great to recognise so many names that I've been having emails and calls with as well, and really looking forward to welcoming everybody in September to lovely sunny Aberystwyth, hopefully still sunny at that point as well. So yeah, as mentioned by Sam, I'm just going to provide a quick recap of material discussed in the last webinar as well. So please bear with me for anybody who was joining that webinar, but this might also help as a bit of a refresher and reminder for you if you're still yet to complete any of these steps. But to go really from the beginning, I suppose, step one, accepting your offer. All of our UCAS applicants will have made a decision on their offers by now, but we still have quite a few direct applicants who are yet to accept their offer. So for undergraduate students, this would be returning your offer reply form to our UG admissions team. And for our postgraduate students, completing and returning your decision form to the PG admissions team as well. So both of those documents will have been sent alongside your offer letter by email as well. And if you can't find those, please do contact the relevant teams. It's definitely worth noting that you are able to respond to your offers with these offer letters before you have met your academic conditions. So if you're still waiting on some exam results, you can respond to your offer and accept your place here at Aberystwyth. So once you have accepted your offer, you're then able to apply for your accommodation. And you do this by logging into the accommodation portal using your application number. And this is where your International Accommodation Award would be applied to you. So you can have one of two choices here. Option one would be Court Mauer, our free campus accommodation. That would be no additional cost for all years of study here at Aberystwyth. Or option two, any other campus accommodation at a £2,000 discount per year for you. So once you've applied for your accommodation, you will receive an accommodation offer from our accommodation team. And there'll be a guide for several steps that you'll need to complete to then firm up your accommodation and housing for the year. Firstly, it would be creating your IT account. So giving you your own personalized @aber.ac.uk email address, so becoming very real at that point. And you would use that to then log back into the accommodation portal, formally accept your offer, and then there will be a licensing pack that you would need to complete. And this would have a few steps, such as a £100 deposit that you'd need to pay on your accommodation. And even if in receipt of the International Accommodation Award, you will need to pay this £100 deposit that would be returned to you following your stay in the accommodation coming to an end, provided you haven't completely wrecked the room. I suppose the conditions would be shown to you, but you would receive that £100 back. And there will also be an online induction that you would need to complete. And part of that would be a key release form that you'll need to fill out and return to the accommodation team. And within which you would need to provide a date that you would be arriving to Aberystwyth. And don't worry if you haven't booked your flights by the time you need to send that form back. You can just send in a provisional date that you expect you might arrive in Aberystwyth. And then when you have finalised your travel plans, please just update us at the international team or the accommodation office as well, and we'll get that changed for you very simply. So many students, of course, looking for that all-important CAS letter at the moment to help begin with your visa application. But you still might have some outstanding conditions for your offer. So we do encourage you to really thoroughly check your offer letters and any correspondence that you will have received from our admissions teams. But just some of the examples that you may still need to complete or might still be waiting on. Firstly, scanned copies of your academic certificates or transcripts. So any students joining who might have completed IB qualifications, for example, you should have received your results earlier this month. And if your school had not done so, you can provide a a PDF copy of your certificates or transcripts to our admissions team for them to update your offer. There may be students joining who are still waiting on results, A-level students perhaps. Please don't worry, plenty of people in the same situation who will be receiving their results in August. There's still plenty of time to receive your CAS letter and go through the visa application process prior to your arrival here. But just make sure you've got everything else prepared so that if you are receiving your transcripts quite late, you can be really ready to go with the visa at that point. So you may have any additional documents that are still required by our admissions team. That could be a scanned copy of your passport. You may need to meet English language qualifications, and these should be stipulated in your offer letter. So it should usually give an IELTS score, but there are also many other English language qualifications that we do accept. I can see a link has just been posted in the chat that you can see if you hold any of those qualifications to perhaps waive that requirement there. One that students sometimes miss is the academic reference as well, which all students at undergraduate and postgraduate level would require. So this could be from a teacher or counsellor, from an educational institution such as your schools, colleges or universities. So please make sure you're requesting that from your institution if still needed, so that it can be sent over to our admissions team in time. You should also have received a COVID-19 declaration form from our admissions team if you have accepted your offer. So please fill out that and return it as soon as possible. Some students will also need to fill in a final financial declaration form as well. And this is where I realize there are a lot of students in different situations on the call. So students from US might be receiving federal loans. Just important to let the university know of how you will be financing your studies and stay in Aberystwyth. So again, some students will need to make the £2,000 deposit payment, for which the deadline is August 20th. So make sure you take a close look at your offer letter and see if you are one of these students that is required to pay the deposit. And there should be a deposit payment link that will be appearing in the chat soon as well, if you realize that you are indeed one of those students. But again, it may not apply for fully sponsored students and students receiving perhaps federal loans from the US government as well. Again, with financial evidence, so for students who are perhaps self-funded, you will need to show a minimum of £9,207 of living expenses plus your tuition fees that need to be held within a bank account accessible to you for 28 days prior to making your visa application as well. So please make sure that you do have that information prepared, as if called on and requested by the Home Office, your visa application could be rejected if you're a student that does need to evidence this. So once you have received your CAS letter, which hopefully you should very soon if you've completed all of those conditions there shown in the last slide, you can start to work on your visa application. And in our previous webinar held last month, our international student advisor, Rosa Soto, gave a very helpful guide on walking through the visa application process, which I realize can be a very new one to a lot of our applicants here. So perhaps a good move to go back and rewatch that webinar to have a look. And if you have any questions at all, do email her at immigrationadvice@aber.ac.uk. For supporting documents that you would need to prepare, examples would be a valid copy of your passport, the CAS letter that you should have received. Initially, you will receive a draft copy of your CAS letter that you need to check over and confirm with our admissions team before they send that final CAS letter to you. Again, students required to show financial evidence would need to have this prepared. In your CAS letter, you may also have a list of certificates of previous qualifications that will be required for you to evidence in your visa app as well. As part of the visa application process, you'll need to pay an immigration health surcharge, and that entitles you to free healthcare whilst here in the UK. So there will be a fee for each year staying in the UK there, but once you've made this payment, your visa application will be automatically updated. And also take a look on your visa application if you need to show an ATAS certificate, mostly for postgraduate students from certain countries, and also a tuberculosis certificate as well. But as mentioned, any questions at all, please do email Rosa Zotto at immigrationadvice@aber.ac.uk. I can see that email address is also copied into the chat for you to access. So thank you for bearing with me there as I went through a few things that we'd already discussed in the previous webinar. So I'll now pass over to my colleague Maritza to talk about some more exciting things ahead for your arrival in September.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. So now that you've sorted your visa application, you've sorted pretty much everything, and you're getting ready to come to Aberystwyth and plan your arrival. So when planning your arrival, here's some options of how to get to Aberystwyth. We have the airport pickup service that will be operating from Birmingham Airport. So if you're hoping to use our airport pickup service, we advise that you book to fly into Birmingham Airport, where we will be there to meet you. The dates that we're looking at are Thursday the 9th of September, Friday the 10th of September, Thursday the 16th of September, and Friday the 17th of September. This will give you time if you need to self-isolate to be able to self-isolate, and then just get out and enjoy freshers in due time. For our postgraduate students, we recommend that you arrive in our October dates because you start just a little bit later than everybody. So we would recommend you use our airport pickup from the 6th of October and the 7th of October. My colleagues dropped a link in the chat where you can go ahead and book your airport pickup. If you haven't booked your flights yet, don't worry, just book the airport pickup according to when you think you should arrive, and we will make the correct amendment. Once you book your ticket, we can make the correct adjustments. If you can't come through Birmingham Airport, there are definitely different routes you can come. So we recommend that you travel via Manchester Airport. You can get the train from Manchester Airport to Aberystwyth as well. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour journey with a stopover at Shrewsbury, where you change at Shrewsbury and then you get a direct train from Shrewsbury to Aberystwyth. If you do need help with that, please feel free to contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you. You can also come via London Heathrow or Gatwick Airport. For those coming internationally, that might be the option that's available to you. And then coming from London Heathrow or Gatwick, there are many different ways that you can transfer to Aberystwyth. So it could either be by train, coach, or taxi. Again, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to advise you on what's best and how you can get here. In regards to the airport pickup, it will be a coach service from Birmingham to Aberystwyth, and we'll drop you right in front of your accommodation and give you the necessary items for you to be able to get into your accommodation. You'll also be provided with a bonus packed lunch as well, and great views on the way. So we've already done the airport pickup. You're pretty much on your way. So things to kind of expect when you get to Aberystwyth for Welcome Week. The first few things to be mindful of is the registration. Some of you will be required to do pre-registration or registration. That is bound to take place between the week of the 20th to the 27th. Registration is basically choosing the modules that you need for the year ahead. You'll get an email from your department as well as the academic team to kind of guide you through with the process with instructions of how to go about it. Your department will reach out to you to be able to help you select the right modules for you for the year ahead. Every department will have a departmental induction talk. I suggest that you please take advantage of this and engage with the departmental induction talks. This is just a great way for you to get to know your department, get to know the lecturers, the admin staff around your department, and just know who you can go to when you need certain things resolved. Then the next best thing is the Welcome Week. So once you've sorted out all of this, is the big welcome. The big welcome is orientation, essentially. This is where you get to take part in some of the fun things, which is, you know, whether it's the Freshers' Fair or some of the events that the Students' Union will be hosting, like the big quiz night, or just a host of different things. If you have a look in the link as well, there is just a link to the Freshers page that can tell you a little bit more some of the activities to expect. A lot of you, if you're living in student accommodation, campus manager accommodation, you will have access to a residential assistant. And a residential assistant is someone who is still at university, but can help signpost you if you have any issues within your accommodation. They are the kind of person that liaises between you and the accommodation team and student support as well. And if you have any issues with your flatmates, that would be the kind of person you'd need to contact as well. Or if you need access to 24-hour security services as well, in each of your residences, we have a phone that you can just pick up and get in contact with our 24-hour security services. So another thing to think about during orientation week and just when you're in the buzz of things is making sure that you join a society or a club. Through the Students' Union. There's a link in the chat to be able to do that. You can join a society that's either an academic-based society, which means that's a departmental-focused society, or you can join a sporting society. My recommendation is that you join 2 societies. You join one departmental society and you join one sporting society. And we also have our International English Centre. The International English Centre is somewhere where you can pick up some skills before your course really starts, so that you can adapt to the academic style here at Aberystwyth University. So whether that's learning how to write or reference correctly, or getting someone to help read your essays in the first few months. They have a reader in writing who can go through your essays and give you tips and pointers, go through the reference styles, like I mentioned, the different reference styles that we have here at the university, and just help you put together an effective paper when you start writing. So the one thing that you should remember when you're at Aberystwyth, once you've done everything, you've settled in, you've booked your arrival, you're here, you're adjusting, is to know that there is support available for you throughout your time here, and especially in the beginning. So it's really good to get in contact with the right people, but to know what's available for you. So in the first few weeks, you'll have a great time, of course, but you'll be pulled in so many different directions that you might experience a little bit of being overwhelmed. You might just be a bit too busy, have a lot going on both socially and preparing for your first week of lectures and so forth and so on. So if you do experience some of this, whether it's homesickness or dealing with culture shock or something like that, just know that we have a great support system available for you, not just in the international team, but also in the Students' Union. They have an advisor available that you can drop in and talk to someone if you're struggling. They've got great services available, and they've got an international student support there as well. The students support services also have counselors where you can book a drop-in session. So if you find that your mental health is struggling, they have great mental health services available. So student support, you could just reach out or go online and book a session to speak to someone if you find that you're struggling in the first few weeks. Student support also have a signpost mentor. A signpost mentor is someone who's been at the university for a few years, who's a little bit older and can help you adjust in the few weeks. You could just go for coffee and just talk to them about settling in and getting used to being at university. Each and every one of you will be allocated a departmental tutor. So you'll be allocated a personal tutor in your department. That's someone to advise you and guide you throughout the duration of your studies. Your personal tutor usually tends to be the same person from the beginning until the very end. I would recommend that you touch base with this individual and just build a relationship with them. And as a tip, they might be the best person to give you an authentic reference at the end of your studies. So those are the things to kind of keep in mind. While we're talking about support available, I know that for the first time at university, you might also struggle with money management. Student support in the first few weeks offer financial management classes. They can also help put together a financial budget for you that you can kind of live by throughout the first year of your studies. So that's it from me. I look forward to kind of getting some questions from you at the end of the session. I'm just going to pass on to to our student ambassador, Jeffrey, who's from the USA.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to run through a very brief list of some of the things that you should bring with you on your journey to Aberystwyth, just some essential items. The first thing, definitely one of the things, is dress for year-round. We don't have any uniforms or anything like that here, so just make sure you pack a bunch of clothes that are comfortable and for year round, because the weather can be quite inconsistent. Right now it's like really warm, so make sure you pack your summer stuff. Toiletries and medications, I'd say bring a very small amount of those just to start off with. For those people who are self-isolating, I would just bring a I would just bring a like a 2-week amount, because that's the amount of time that you have to self-isolate for. So just 2 weeks worth of toiletries, and I would say about 3 months worth of medication. I would check with your travel authority for the amount of medication that you should bring. We have a surgery here that provides most medications pretty much free of charge. And another thing, this is important, just bring something to remind you of home. I know a lot of people who travel, international students, even me, I've been homesick quite a few times. Just a small photograph or any other sentimental item that's good to bring. Paperwork, ID, and emergency cash to help you get through Birmingham Airport or whatever airport that you're flying into. Some electronics, and this is important for some students who are not from the EU. Bring power converters for your electronics, anything that needs to be charged, and make sure the power converters can plug into UK wall sockets. We have very big wall sockets, so most plugs will not fit in them. So make sure you bring a converter. Entertainment items like books, but don't go overboard, especially on books. I made that mistake, unfortunately. We do have a library to rent out books for as long as you need them as well. And lastly, and most importantly, bring your lovely smiling selves to Aberystwyth. It would be great to see you all. I'm going to pass over now to my colleague Helene, who will go over some of the items that you should not bring with you to Aberystwyth. Helene.
Thank you. So, some of the things that you want to make sure you don't do is pack too much, especially shoes. So one of the things that I definitely packed too much of was high heels. Do not make that same mistakes. Like, you're going to be walking up and down a hill more or less every single day. So just bring some good walking shoes, maybe something waterproof because it will rain. And just, yeah, be mindful of not bringing too much stuff. Furniture, kitchenware, and appliances, you can definitely get that here. You do not need to bring any of that from home, unless it's a very, very specific thing that you know that you will never get here, but that's very rare. I've been able to get my Norwegian waffle iron in the UK, no problem. So make sure that you don't pack any restricted items. You do not want to pack kitchen knives or anything that will get you stopped in customs. Just make sure that you check out which restrictions that customs have for your country and move accordingly. You do not need to bring a bunch of stationery. You can get that at more or less any shop, both on campus and in town. So that's no need at all. When it comes to printers, definitely don't need to bring one. If you need a printer in your room, then you can definitely get one from Argos or Amazon or anything. You can even get it delivered to the dorm, no problem. But they do have printers that you can use around campus. All different accommodation will have a printer nearby. So just be mindful of that. Now, you do not need to bring a lot of decorating accessories and stuff like that. You do not need to bring curtains or loads and loads of blankets or throw pillows or anything like that. That's going to take up loads of space in your suitcase, and it's just going to be stuffed under the bed most of the time anyways. Televisions, if you need one, buy one here. They do not travel well. And yeah, just be mindful of, yeah, if you need to bring more stuff than what's already there, like if you need to bring more than what you can fit in 2 suitcases, there are options for shipping after you arrive here so that you can get help from people back home. If you do need the options for shipping, then my best recommendation is sendmybag.com, which I used. I definitely shipped a lot of stuff, and they're the cheapest option available. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Now, what to expect when you get here. So what most of you can expect is quarantine, and that's definitely Jeffrey's area of expertise. So if you would like to take that one.
We'll take that one. On the UK government website, you can find a list of countries, and if the country that you're traveling from is on that list, you have to self-isolate, quarantine for 2 weeks, for the first 2 weeks that you arrive in Aber. If you're on that list, the school will know about that, and they will arrange accommodation for you. And they will also provide some basic foodstuffs and other items to help you during the period. You can, if you are in need of any more foodstuffs, we do have a food app called Nashda that you can get groceries and takeaway delivered to your door from the university. And the university will also provide you with lunch for free for those 2 weeks as well. They'll just knock on your door and provide you with a lunch, which is quite nice. But yeah, during the self-isolation period, strongly advise you not to go out and explore. As tempting as it may be, you could probably get away with getting some fresh air right outside of your door, but try not to interact or mingle with any other students, because you could get in trouble with the authorities, and that could compromise your visa if you're staying with one. So that's all I have to say for self-isolation.
Thank you.
Not too bad.
No, it's really not. And the international office did set up a lot of entertainment stuff online so that quarantining students could actually interact with each other and get something to do while being stuck inside. Now for the flats, campus and services. The flats are mostly 6 to 8 people, no matter where you are on campus. You have varying kinds of flats. Now, both me and Jeffrey were staying in Firm, so we're a bit partial perhaps, but it's a very comfortable option. You get great storage spaces and you get great people, most of all. But yeah, no, the thing that you kind of need to prepare for with flats is that you might end up with a lot of different cultures. Be prepared to be mindful of your flatmates and be prepared to have a lot of honest discussions about what you're okay with and not. And one of the first things that you're going to do while moving into a flat is sitting down with your flatmates and making some ground rules about who does what in the communal areas. What do you expect from each other? How do you want to communicate? All these things. But in general, flats tend to work out great. A lot of the people that I know have moved into private accommodation or into student accommodation on university grounds with their flatmates from year one. And yeah, people are generally very happy about that. Now, when it comes to campus, you will probably be a little bit confused at first, but I recommend taking a campus tour as soon as possible once you're not in isolation or anything like that. And start learning your way around. Now, campus does offer a lot of services when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to food, when it comes to general practical stuff like shops. You will find almost anything and everything on campus, as well as the student support, which is absolute gold. Especially the well-being services. Do use them if you need them. They're only there to help. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for that. It's great to have a kind of current student perspective on this. So I'm going to quickly run through, well, not quickly, it might take some time, run through the current situation as it stands for students coming from different countries. Now, we currently have red, amber, and green list countries. and my colleague has posted the list for this red, amber and green list countries. So there's rules for entering England is there as well. So on there, you'll be able to see which category your country fits in. But we're going to run through the different situations you'll find depending where you come from. So if you're coming from a red list country, such as India, or there's quite a few red list countries now, you will have to have a negative COVID test 3 days before the flight. And you will need to be able to prove this when you arrive at the airport. Before you arrive at the airport, you have to book your quarantine hotel. Now, this quarantine hotel is organised through the government, and it is going to be in a hotel near the airport. You will also need to complete a passenger locator form, and on this passenger locator form, you will need to provide an address. That address will be the university's reception address, and all students will be able to put that address because you may not know your term time address by that point. Within that, you will also be getting 2 COVID tests. And so the 2 COVID tests are part of the price package, I should say. So the cost of your quarantine is in total £1,750. Now the university is going to reimburse you £1,000 of that to make sure that this is still an affordable option for you. The cost of this includes the hotel, transport to the hotel, food, and the tests that you take within this as well. You will have to take 2 tests on day 2 and day 8, and both of those tests have to be negative for you to be able to be released on day 10. If any of those tests are not negative, you will have to start those 10 days from that point. When you are released from that quarantine, you'll be able to make your way to Aberystwyth. Now, the cost of that quarantine will they'll provide transport back to the airport. And if you fly from Birmingham Airport, it's super easy to get from the airport to Aberystwyth. There is a train that goes all the way from the airport to town, and it's really easy. If there's quite a large group of students who are going to be coming out of quarantine at the same time, we may be able to provide extra transport, but we're going to be having to work this out as we go along because it depends on numbers. But just keep in touch. Let us know when you are arriving, when your quarantine starts, when you're hoping it is going to finish, and we'll be able to provide that information. In terms of getting the £1,000 reimbursement, keep the receipt of the payment of the hotel, and once you arrive on campus, we'll be able to organise the reimbursement for you there. If you are coming from an amber list country, you will still need to get a negative COVID test 3 days before your flight, and again, prove that when you get to the airport. You'll need to complete a passenger locator form, same address as before. The university reception address will be sufficient. And you'll need to book and pay for 2 COVID travel tests. And again, you'll take that on day 2 and day 8, and you'll be able to put the same university reception address on that to get them delivered. Students from the amber list, you will be able to use our airport pickup service. So Maritza went through the dates of these. So please use the online survey form that is on our chat at the moment and book the service. And we'll be in touch to organise this further over the next month and so. We are planning on isolating students in their term time accommodation so you can unpack, get settled, because you know you'll be where you are for the next year at least. If there are too many students in your accommodation who aren't isolating, you may have to go into temporary accommodation, but again, we'll provide support on getting you to the right place. And like Helene said, we'll make sure that everybody's got enough support and contact with other students, quarantine us, and make sure that you're supported all the way through. Just a note to also say it is a 10-day quarantine now. So last year, when Jeffrey and Helene did it, it was a full 2 weeks. So they did 2 weeks of quarantine, but now it is just 10 days. So a little bit shorter, a little bit more kind of manageable, and it means that you get to start your university experience a little bit quicker. If you are lucky enough to come from a green list country, You will still have to do the passenger locator form and get that negative test before arriving at the airport, and you'll be able to do the airport pickup. We will be providing different buses and making sure everybody is socially distancing on the buses anyway, to make sure that you can still join us in the airport pickup. You will also have to still pre-book a test and take that on or before day 2. Again, if any of these tests prove positive, isolation has to start again. Now, when you are on campus and as a student, there's a huge COVID team now ready to support you. We have a COVID hotline. If any students are positive in accommodation, we make sure everybody in that flat is supported and have tests and isolate if they need to, or don't if they don't have to. So there's a whole operation going on, and everybody is supported as much as possible. It's possibly a good time to say as well that we've been fairly lucky in Aberystwyth, touch wood. The county that you're in has relatively low cases compared to the rest of the UK at least. And because we've got such a large campus with lots of accommodation, we've been able to keep some activities face-to-face over the last year. Now, looking forward to September, we are planning to have every lecture face-to-face where possible. So we have large lecture theatres, we are splitting classes, so there's 2 instead of 1, so people are allowed to kind of not isolate, social distance within the class. And all of our classrooms are now set up with perspex screens, hand sanitizer, and everything needed to make it safe for you, our staff, and everybody else. Myself and the team are also working from home to make extra space for you guys in the corridors. So hopefully we'll still be able to do as much face-to-face as possible. For any students who aren't double vaccinated, you will be able to get a vaccine in the UK as an international student, and that will be free of charge within the NHS. So make sure you are signing all of those NHS surcharges and getting that visa sorted. As Maritza said, and as we've talked about, there's support arriving to Aberystwyth, be it the airport pickup, or be it if you're arriving in a different airport and just want us to be able to talk you through your options and make sure you know how you're going to get to Aberystwyth. It may look far on a map, but it's not too difficult to get to. Helene, I know you got to from Heathrow, had to get a bus here, and there's multiple trains and different options to be able to get to Aberystwyth in a fairly easy way. So just as a recap, for the Amber List quarantine students, there's food provision available and accommodation, and we will make sure you've got your tests and can pick up the tests from you. And then for the Red List quarantine students, you'll need to book that hotel quarantine and you'll get £1,000 reimbursed. The registration deadline is the 15th of October. So all students will have to register, whether you have made it to campus or not by that point. You'll need to have to register by the 15th of October to secure your place. So now is the time that everybody's starting to get excited, looking at what to pack, what to bring, when to arrive. And now is a great time to meet other students also going through the same thing. So join us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and please join the Entry 2021 group. It's a great way to meet other students from your own country, from the course that you're going to be joining, or from the accommodation you're going to be living in. You can ask them questions. I know a lot of them have kind of made their own little WhatsApp groups and made little spurs going off. And so there's a lot of social activities happening already. And it's also a chance for you to ask us and the students and other global ambassadors some questions as well. We have a live Q&A every Thursday on Facebook and Instagram, so you can join us on Aber Thursdays and you can ask the team questions. And we have a lot of our international students doing takeovers on social media as well. So it's a great way to see a little bit more of Aberystwyth before you arrive. Now, we will have another webinar in August. And by that point, we're hoping to have a lot more information about airport pickups, kind of travel restrictions, and it'll be another chance to ask us questions as well. We'll be going through the Students' Union, life around town, more about what to expect in the first couple of weeks. And again, I'm afraid we'll have to keep on going on about those travel and COVID restrictions that are going to still be in place by September. Like you got this one, we'll be sending links to register. And keep an eye on our social media because we'll be doing updates on there as well. If you have questions in the meantime before the next August webinar, please email us or message us on social media as well. Thank you for listening. I'll welcome the rest of the team back onto camera now. Hi guys, you magically appear, that's excellent. And we'll open up the chat as well. So if anybody has any questions at all, please feel free to ask. If you have one specifically for a student, if you don't want us older ones to take, I speak for myself, to take the question, please shout. Our students will be happy to help as well. Thank you for listening as well. I know this is going to be a bit more stressful than usual, but it's still super exciting to come and join Aberystwyth, especially if it's going to be weather like it is today, a beautiful summer, sunny day. So you've got a few questions coming in. The UK announced that amber-list countries that are vaccinated don't have to isolate. Is Wales not following? So at the moment, Wales is not following, no. So Wales is only saying that people who have had the UK vaccine and are returning to the UK don't have to isolate. But at the moment, everybody from an amber country will have to isolate when coming into Wales. Where can we access the June webinar? On our webinar page. So I'm sure we can post up the link, but you can access and watch last month's webinar where we had Rosa Soto, our immigration advisor, and staff from the admissions department to go through some of those next steps in more detail as well. Amanda, hi, I'm a postgrad student living off campus. Will you still help with COVID tests and provisions during quarantine? Amanda, if you could contact us, you may be able to quarantine on campus. I'm afraid if you are in private accommodation, are going to be quarantining in private accommodation. We're not able to deliver COVID tests to you or food, but I know that there's a lot of food delivery options in town, and can you still get Noshda delivered to town as well, Maritza, guys? Yes, lots of nodding. So there's a lot of extra support there as well. So Amanda, if you send us a quick email to international@aber.ac.uk, we can talk you through your options about what you can do in terms of your quarantine whilst living off campus. Emma, could explain what registration is. I was a bit confused since the term starts late September, but you said registration can be done up until October. Yes, so you start term at the end of September and you have welcome week and orientation week. Registration is in October, just to allow students who are arriving late or students who decide to come to us very late and join us from a different university. So it's 15th of October to allow any fluctuations in where students are studying, to make sure you've got your address and are signed up for your course correctly, if that explains it. When you start in your orientation week as well, you'll have a chance to meet all of your academics, all your teachers, choose your modules. So it gives you a chance to make sure that all of your information is correct as well. Caitlin, do we get the accommodation award for all years of study? Yes, you do. So if you're an undergraduate student, you'll get it for all 3 years that you are studying your degree. Jenny Truitt, thank you. Our pleasure. Always nice to see you. Thank you. Kyra, my parents want to come with me. How would you recommend they isolate? Kyra, it depends where you are coming from. If you're coming from a red list country, they will have to do the red list quarantine hotel as well. If you are coming from an amber list country, they will still have to quarantine in whichever accommodation they are going to be living in, so be it a hotel or a Airbnb. So they will still need to quarantine within those 10 days. Kiosha, I apologize if I said this wrong. Do we need to isolate even if we are double vaccinated and a red country? Yes. So at the moment, everybody, even if you are double vaccinated, still need to isolate. There we go. No matter if you've had your 1 vaccine, 2 vaccine, no matter which vaccine you've had either, everybody has to isolate. Eddie, hey guys. I'll be accompanying my daughter, Francesca, from Naples. Beautiful Naples. That is a place I've been to. Could I drop her off at Aberystwyth and travel down to Swansea and isolate with relatives? I must isolate in my first town of arrival, which would be Aberystwyth, and of course, expensive for me. Eddie, that's a difficult one because it depends if it is part of your journey. If you are staying in Aberystwyth, then technically, yes, you would have to isolate in the place that you are staying. But as you are contacting us for a European student, Maritza and myself, I'm sure, can get in touch and talk you through your options. Maritza, do you know Francesca?
Yes. Hi, dear
Yeah.
Francesca. I think on the locator form, you have to list where exactly you're going to, what your final destination is on the locator thingy form. So if Swansea is your final destination, then you have to travel from the airport to Swansea. You can't stop in the middle and then continue your journey. You have to go from the airport to Swansea. And that's what I remember from last year. I think, I can't remember if that has changed much. So, but Eddie, alternatively, you could also use the bunkhouse for self-isolation, which is on campus if you were to come with Francesca from Naples. But yeah, I'll drop you an email.
Yeah. The other option is as well Francesca isolating with you in Swansea and then joining us in Aberystwyth afterwards. So there's a couple of ways to work this out, because then you can all isolate for free with relatives in beautiful Swansea. But yeah, Maritza, we can be in touch, can't we? Sanjay, I have taken the co-vaccine 2 doses in India. Is that acceptable in the UK? Do I have to carry any certificates? Hi, Sanjay. Co-vaccine isn't currently on the vaccine list in the UK. It is still being decided what is going to happen to students who have had different vaccinations to the ones currently certified in the UK. It is not fully decided upon yet whether you can then have a different vaccine. So I would say if you have proof of your vaccine, bring it. But as vaccines aren't affecting quarantine at the moment anyway, you'll have to quarantine anyway, even if you have had that vaccine. So bring proof, and once it has been decided upon, we will be able to advise further. Peace. Postgrad student with a spouse. Will my spouse receive support from the university as well as myself while isolating? If you are joining us from a red list country, we'll only reimburse the £1,000 for the student. We're not able to reimburse the £1,000 for the red list quarantine for any dependents or spouses travelling with students. If you are from an amber list country, it very much depends on your accommodation setup. So really, we would only be able to isolate the student, so yourself, in university accommodation. We wouldn't be able to isolate any spouses or dependents in university accommodation, as they are all single occupancy. And that is an insurance issue as well. Amanda, thank you. Excellent. Freya, will the accommodation offer be sent to my IT account? Looking at the guys to double check this. I think the accommodation offer will get to the email address they applied for. Is that correct?
Yeah, that should be the case. The email that's attached to your initial application, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
But then once you've received that offer, then the steps will be there to create your IT account. Yeah,
and then from then on, a lot of stuff gets sent to the IT account and your other email address. Caitlin, Jeffrey, are you ready? Caitlin, do we need to bring our US health insurance card? Is this something you had to do?
It's recommended that you bring your U.S. health insurance card so that when you sign on for medical treatment, that you can receive it. But generally, I haven't had any real use for my U.S. Health insurance card, if I'm honest. But it's just something to present just in case. I'm not sure about major surgery. If you're in need of that, then maybe. But other than that, I'm not too sure. But any sort of documentation like that is helpful.
As international students, once you pay your NHS health surcharge, you do get access to the full NHS. So it's, as Jeffrey said, it's always useful to have this documentation if ever needed. You will have access to the full NHS, as such the free vaccines available as well. Timothy, are families welcome on campus to settle students? Yes. We are advising at the moment, though, that families, there's only one member of the family in accommodation at a time, just because otherwise everywhere will get very crowded. corridors will be crowded, so we're trying to reduce footfall through accommodation. Only the student will be able to pick up the key as well, so families will have to wait outside. But again, it's just to reduce the number of people in a queue, number of people in a building. Can you quarantine in a hotel? Yes, but I would advise contacting hotels to check whether they have the facilities to be able to do this. If registration is in October, when do our courses start? I can see these dates have confused things a little bit. So you are allowed to...
Sorry,
have you just dropped
I've just dropped a link that really explains the registration right above your email, because the thing is registration and pre-registration starts from the 20th to the 27th. But if you're arriving late or you've not managed to make those dates, the deadline, the final deadline for registration is the 15th of October.
I think that's the important thing, isn't it? It's the deadline for registration. It's the last point for registration is in October. Most students will register beforehand. So the start of term is, well, students can move into their accommodation in general on the 24th. International students can obviously move in earlier through the airport pickup or through the quarantine support. And classes usually will start around the kind of, some departments might start on the 29th, others will start on the 4th, depending on the modules that are being run. But from the 27th to the 1st, that week, you'll have a lot of introductory lectures from your classes, meeting your lecturers, meeting your other classmates, choosing the modules that you'll be studying for the rest of the year, as well as then from the 4th onwards, it's full steam on a full timetable. Is there a health insurance in university? Momoko, so the NHS is free of charge for international students. So as long as you've got that NHS health surcharge as part of your visa, which you will do, you'll be able to access the health service for free. And in Wales, medication is free as well, mostly.
Yeah, so just to clarify there, that the health surcharge cost is £470 per academic year, I believe. So if staying for your undergraduate course, then it would be £470 per year. So you would need to multiply that. But yes, then once here, as Sam said, free healthcare. So,
Caitlin, is there transport from Holyhead during the year?
Yes, there is a bus from the train station, Victoria Road, that goes up to, I want to say it goes up to Bangor, and then you can either transfer. Holyhead is all the way up to the north, right? By the port. Yes, yeah, there is a bus. Yes, okay. I was looking around. I was like, have I misunderstood this? So you can get a bus all the way up north, and then you can transfer to get a ferry to Holyhead, or from Holyhead to, I suspect you want to get to Ireland.
Dublin.
Dublin, yeah. I suspect that's where she wants to come from or go to.
You think you didn't think people just wanted to go to Holyhead? It must be somewhere else.
Is there much in Holyhead?
Let's not. Caitlin, is joining more than 2 societies difficult to manage? Maritza, do you want to take this?
I struggled because I overcommitted, but it just depends on how good you are at managing your schedule. In the first year, I would say because once your course starts and things pick up, you will struggle, in all honesty. So I think if you limit it to 2, and then maybe in the summer you can pick up some other extracurricular activities. So once you have a schedule going and you've got a timetable together and you're working according to things, you can pick up more as in when you want. But yeah, I think it just depends on how you manage your time. I wasn't very effective at that.
Jeffrey and Helen, have you joined any societies?
Yeah, but it hasn't been that much now during COVID. But yeah, from what I've gathered from previous students' experiences is that it depends on how much you want to put into the society, really. Like if you're a bit, doesn't really bother you if you miss out on an event here and there, then yeah, you can join multiple societies and you can have fun with different friend groups, depending on what your mood is. But yeah.
Jeffrey, have you joined any?
I've joined a couple, but the societies that I've joined have been impacted quite a bit due to COVID. So most of the events have been online, and during term time, it was more difficult for me to manage my time between going to social events and doing my studies. I would say that thankfully, most of these societies are that much your commitment. So they're very flexible. So you can join whatever events you can join, or not. So that's my society experience.
And I definitely say the same. I joined a lot of sports societies when I joined university about 10 years ago. And it was sports that I'd never done before as well. So it was a great way to try out new things and meet new friends as well. So it is a really, really good way to meet people at university, because you're guaranteed to have at least one thing in common with them. So it's a great way, because you'll also have the people that you live with, the people that you study with, and then it's another group of friends as well. Kyra, does Wales have the test out option? No. So Wales isn't doing the test out option at the moment. If this changes, we'll update in the August webinar. And of course, we'll post on social media as well, any changes, and email out. But currently, the Welsh system is that there is no test out option. More thank yous. Excellent. Can we do self-quarantine on campus, dorm, or do we need to book a hotel? Momoka, no. So if you are coming from an amber list country, you can quarantine in campus. So if you book onto our airport pickup service, or let us know when you are arriving, we can help support you with your quarantine. So that is if you are from an amber list country. You will still have to book your 2 tests that you will have to take on day 2 and day 8. You will still have to book that beforehand, and still have to have the negative test before you fly and complete all the appropriate forms, but you can quarantine in campus accommodation. Sanjay, as I am from a red list country in India, if I take the Birmingham airport, where do I stay in hotel quarantine? So as far as I know, the hotel quarantine for people arriving at Birmingham airport is very close to the airport, and they provide the transport to pick you up and to take you to the airport, to take you to the hotel as well as returning you back to the airport afterwards. So Sanjay, let us know when you're arriving and book that hotel quarantine through the link that we provided. And then the information will all be available there. McKenna, as a UK passport holder, but an American citizen, should I apply for my national insurance card when I arrive, or can I apply before?
When you arrive, because the student support will have someone from the job center, or they usually have someone from the job center that comes in and does a session on national insurance. Are you talking about a national insurance card to be able to access employment?
I'm assuming so. So a national insurance card, for those who aren't aware, is something everybody will need to be able to work in the UK. It basically registers you for the kind of the national insurance system. Now, to be able to apply, you do have to have a super quick, is it virtual interview now with the job centre, just to confirm who you are, that you're a student, and to also reiterate that you can only work up to 20 hours under a student visa during term time. The university recommends 15 hours to make sure that you've got enough time to work and enjoy your student experience as well, such as the societies. But if you speak to the careers department or the student support team, they'll be able to help you, as Maritza said.
Yeah, hopefully they'll return back on campus to be able to do the interview sessions, but it's a kind of a matter of waiting and see.
If I am from the USA, but I self-isolate in Ireland, will I still have to quarantine in Aberystwyth? Is Ireland on the green list?
Common travel area.
Yes.
Oh yes, it's the common travel area, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. No, you won't have to. Hence, I understand why you want to get up to Dublin now. It's all making sense, Caitlin. More thank yous, no problem, Freya. Debir. Hi, Debir. Were you on our webinar this morning?
Yes.
If I'm coming to London and I reach late at night, I would need to stay until the next day in London, as public transport won't be available that late. It will take me 5 to 7 hours to reach Aberystwyth. Dabir, as you are coming from a red list country, you will need to be in red list hotel quarantine anyway. The chances of India going green is very slim. The chances of it going amber is pretty slim as well, looking at the current countries that are going red to amber. So I don't think this is something to worry about too much, because I feel that you will probably be most likely going into red list hotel quarantine in London. If you do arrive late, if anybody does arrive late night in London and needs to travel to Aberystwyth, if there's a lot of you, we may be able to do something and support you. Otherwise, I would advise getting a cheaper hotel at the airport and traveling the next day, because, as you say, it can take 5 to 7 hours to reach Aberystwyth, and you will need to stay somewhere for the night beforehand. Dabir, contact myself and Annette, and we'll be able to talk you through those options. But I do think you should be planning to be traveling as a red list country. When will we receive a detailed calendar for the year? Mariana. Helene, do you want to take that? But just as a note, it does take, at the beginning of the first term, you do have to select all of your modules. So you can only get your full calendar after that happens, because it very much depends on the subject areas you choose. But Helene, do you want to give your kind of experience of this?
Yeah. So you will get sort of like a more or less accurate calendar relatively early on during term, but they are subject to change. So you need to check that things don't move around, because it can actually move around depending on if there's some double booking, or if there's limited space. If there can be a number of reasons, really, due to the situation we are in, where we need to socially distance and everything. But just pay attention to your calendar. You will most likely get a fairly set calendar within a few weeks from term starting.
Yeah, and your department will go through this with you at the beginning of term in the induction calls as well. Your calendar is always between 9 till 6 every day, apart from Wednesdays, where all classes finish at 12, to allow Wednesday afternoon for people to play sports and compete with other universities. Maritza, do you want to take Mariana's question about international students arriving?
Yes. Hey, Mariana. So if you've already booked your flight and you're US, if you don't have to self-isolate, you can just move in right away. Or if you're in amber list country, you just move in the same day that you arrive via our airport pickup, if that's what you're using, and you'll get your keys on the coach for you to be able to self-isolate in your accommodation, term time accommodation. So I explained that right?
So on the 15th, we're not doing an airport pickup on the 15th though. So you will need to be able to travel to Aberystwyth. So what you can do is let us and the accommodation know what time you're arriving or what time you're getting to Aberystwyth, and we can make sure that quarantine accommodation is available for you, and that we know when your quarantine time will end as well.
I will drop you an email and put you in contact with the accommodation team to start making arrangements for early arrivals.
Fab, thanks Maritza. Grace, does the accommodation award cover summer accommodation? I'm afraid no, it does not. There is summer, well, you guys, students, you've stayed here over the summer. Do you want to talk us through what you've done over the summer?
Okay, I can take that one. Just for the summer, I haven't really been doing much except for kind of catching up with the reading list for next year, going into my second year, but there's still plenty of stuff to do, like in town as well. All of the shops are now open because the business restrictions have been lowered, I think. And there's also you can go to the beach. There's the War Memorial. I also recommend the Royal Pier as well. It's got a great there's a pool area, and there's also an arcade there as well. There's lots of things to do in town and even around campus, you'll find quite a few things to do as well.
Yeah, and when it comes to accommodation, you get the option of applying for university summer accommodation around middle of second term. So you'll be able to get into that if you need that. You will also have the option to go private if that's what you want. Of course, you do get a lot of benefits from staying on at university accommodation, so that's a recommendation, definitely. But if you do want to go private, then there are numerous estate agents helping you out to get summer accommodation in Aberystwyth.
Yeah, I think one thing to clarify here would be for postgraduate students, so anybody coming for 1 year, your accommodation license with the accommodation award would run for 50 weeks. So that would cover that summer period. But in terms of undergraduate students, like we're discussing, the license would run for 39 weeks, typically, I think it is. So that would be
44.
Depending on which accommodation.
Okay, yeah. So Court Mauer, for example, the free accommodation would be a 39-week license. So you would have that 11 or 12 weeks that you might need to move into the summer accommodation. I think the cost is typically about £80 per week for that. So won't amount to a huge expense if you are staying over summer. But then once it reaches September again, your accommodation award would kick in again for the next academic year. So it would run for each academic year, but there will be perhaps that 11-week period, depending on which accommodation you're in, where you might have to pay. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. So an extra question from Reese here. I'm a postgrad student, but looking for accommodation off campus. Could I have the contact information to direct questions to again? Maritza, do you want to talk through the accommodation support for private accommodation? You're muted. First one of today.
Yeah. Yes, the university, the accommodation team actually have good guidelines on getting private accommodation. Here is a link for you that you can tap into. Just right there. If you can use that link, you can have a look at some of the options that they recommend with private accommodation. It can be quite challenging, but if you keep in contact with us, we can put you in contact with some of the agencies that we've used ourselves that have been successful. I'll be happy to recommend some places, but have a look at the list that's been provided by the accommodation team itself.
I think they also put some helpful tips to make sure that you're aware of what bills you'll have to pay on top of it, the kind of contract systems, and just the process that you'll have to go through for the private accommodation. So the accommodation team can support you through this, and again, send us an email. We'll see how we can help. So Emma, if I'm coming from an amber list country and quarantining in England, do I have to quarantine again when I arrive in Wales? No. So Wales, England, Ireland, Scotland, there's no quarantine rules to travel between any of those countries. So like with Ireland, it's that kind of common travel area, so you can travel around freely once you complete your quarantine. So if you have family in England and you can quarantine with them for free, definitely, sorry, that sounds like an excellent option for you. More thank yous, always nice. Clarissa, is there futsal? We might need some support on what this could be. And is there a website to view the different societies? There is definitely a website to view the different societies. So the link at the top of the chat is the airport pickup form. So we've made that like a sticky link, but I'm sure we can put up a link for the SU Student Union Societies as well. Does anybody know futsal?
I just had a quick look. I could see there's a men's futsal team. Not sure on the women's futsal side of things, but there is a women's football club at Aberystwyth University as well. So they might participate in some futsal activities. So I'd recommend contacting the exec members of the club that will be listed on their society page as well, just to find out.
And I've just had a quick Google about futsal as well, so now I know what it is.
Great game.
Looks good, yeah. Kyra, so from an amber list country and vaccinated, we could spend 10 days in England and then go to Wales without quarantine. Yes. So when you're completing your passenger locator form, put the place that you're going to be quarantining in England, and when you arrive to Wales, you can just move into your accommodation as normal. Mariana, thank you. That's an email address from Moritz, I think. Sydney, my mum will be travelling with me from an amberless country. Can she use the airport pickup too? Yes, good, nodding. Jack, we are allowing family members to join on the airport pickup, aren't we?
Yes, I think that's the case when traveling together. That would make much more sense than splitting you guys up. So yeah, we'll definitely look to support there where we can. Yeah. Just please let us know, as you are doing so actively here, especially on the airport pickup form as well, whether that will be the case.
Yeah, we often have the odd kind of parent on the airport pickup service, so it's totally fine to be able to use that as well. Caitlin, is there storage options for international students over the summer? The accommodation office have a list of storage companies that they have kind of vetted and make sure that they are good for you to be able to use. They're very local and are used to being able to support international students storing their belongings over the summer if you wish to travel home. Kyosha, will I get a link to view this webinar again, as I joined a little late and missed some of the stuff that was discussed? Yes. So at the end of this webinar, you'll be sent a link through the platform, but you'll also be able to view this webinar on our website along with the webinar from June. So on our international pages, if you click on webinars, you can see them all there. Mariana, I'm not clear on the amount that has to show in my parents' bank account. Who should I write to about this? If this is for the financial evidence for visa, I would suggest writing to immigrationadvice@abo.ac.uk, as Rosa is Home Office trained and can support you with your visa application. Freya, when will the accommodation office send an email inviting me to accept my accommodation offer? Jack, these should have been sent out if they are at what stage within their application?
Ooh, good question. I think if you realise you're missing an accommodation offer at the moment, please do contact us at international@abo.ac.uk about that, and we will be able to follow that up directly with the accommodation office. They were started to be sent out in July, so please do contact us if you feel you're missing an accommodation offer.
Yeah, if there is anything that you think is being, if you're missing a document or missing or not getting any, or should have had another accommodation offer, send us an email to international@abo.ac.uk. Same goes with your application to admissions as well. And we can make sure that everything is in place and all your documents are in order as well. Lots more thank yous, and it is really much our pleasure. I really enjoy doing these webinars and kind of meeting a lot of the students that are going to be joining us this September. Hopefully you'll be seeing most of us that are here at the airport pickup, helping you onto the buses and making sure you arrive. So please remind us of your name and remind us that you saw us at the webinar. It's always quite nice to hear. Thank you for joining, everybody. If you do have questions, please post them in the chat box. Otherwise, after the event, email us through international@abo.ac.uk, or as well, send us a message on social media and the team will be able to get back to you as well.
Just a quick note that I forgot to mention to Mira earlier, who was asking about, she's arriving on the 15th. If you do arrive early, but you still want to use the airport pickup, you can stay in a hotel and then get the airport pickup for the day that we have available. We did have some people do this last year. So if that's an option for you, you're more than welcome to do that. I will email you this information anyway, but it's something to consider if you still want to use the airport pickup service.
Fabulous. And the start of term is one of my favourite times of year as well, seeing everybody arrive. So hopefully the weather will be as glorious as it is today, and we'll see how it goes. Mariana, you'll be arriving to London. Okay, so if you're arriving from London, let's discuss what time you're arriving, and we'll go from there. I think that's probably the best we can do.
It's a developing storyline.
Can you write that email in the chat? Also, does the telephone work? I tried calling and I haven't been successful. McKenna, I'm afraid I'm very sorry that you've not been successful to getting in touch. I'm sure we can put our office telephone number through to make sure that you can get in touch, as well as our international@aber.ac.uk email address in as well. Our glamorous assistant hiding in the background, I'm sure. Yeah, there he goes. Can put it in. He spelt it wrong though, I'm afraid. ABER is the email address. So don't copy it, but there you've got the email address. So, and McKenna, I'm sure if you go to our website, and yeah, here's our number as well. So please call us, and the call should be going through. So sorry if you've not been able to get in touch, but if you email us, we'll be able to help, and we can set up a Zoom call or Teams call as well to be able to talk through stuff. Will we get invited to the August webinar too? Yes. So we'll be sending emails like we did this time to make sure that everybody's got the invite for the August webinar. We'll also be posting things on social media, so you've got the link to be able to sign up as well. Excellent. So as I said, any other questions, feel free to email, send us a Facebook, tweet, Insta post. I don't know what the term is for that one. And we'll be happy to help. I've just made myself feel very old. But it's been a pleasure, and thank you everybody for joining, and hope to see you soon. Thanks everybody for presenting as well today.
And don't forget to join us on Thursday for our other Thursdays. Helen will be taking over this session this week. So join us for other Thursdays for our live Q&As.
Fab. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a lovely evening, daytime, morning, whatever time of the world.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.